What's up, guys? My name is Jake Myers, and this is part 2 in my 10-part series for building muscle for beginners. In part 1, we discussed frequency and training split, and today we'll be discussing rep ranges and how heavy of a weight you should be choosing. So there's really only two options for you. You can go lighter weight and do higher reps, or you could do a heavier weight and do low reps. And there's a lot of misinformation out there in the bodybuilding community that, heavier weight, low reps will build more dense, thicker muscles, and that lightweight and higher reps will produce more toned muscles. But I hate to break it to you, but you can't tone a muscle or make a muscle more dense. That's not really how muscle building works. You can either hypertrophy it and it'll get bigger, or you can atrophy it and it'll get smaller. It can only get bigger or smaller. Maybe when they say toning, they're referring to a more defined muscle, but that would come through dieting, not training or rep ranges or anything like that. So I just want to get that myth out of the way before we get started. So which one is right? Well, funny enough, they are both right. You could either go heavier weight and do less reps, or you could do lighter weight and do more reps. They're both the correct answer. So if you like doing heavier weights, at least hit 6. Any less than 6, it's hard to say that you're building a whole bunch of muscle. Not to say that if you do 5 reps, you're building no muscle. It's just that you're building a little bit less, and the closer you get to 0 reps, probably not too much muscle building there. It's more strength wise. And if you decide to go more lightweight, I would say don't pass 30 reps. Again, not to say that if you get to 31 reps, there's no muscle there for you. Of course, you're going to build muscle at 31 reps, but it's going to be a little bit less. And the more you go away from 30, the less hypertrophy you'll be gaining. It'll be more like a cardio, like circuit type thing, not hypertrophy. And yeah, like I said, both directions, either way you're going, be a little bit further from muscle. But as long as you're anywhere from 6 to 30 reps, perfectly fine. So you're doing, 135 pounds for 6, or you're doing 85 pounds for 30, same muscle growth across the board. So now, one more myth I want to get into real quick is that more reps equal more gains. Kind of like the whole toning thing, people think that, the more work you're putting in, the more hypertrophy you'll be getting out. But again, literature just does not support this. Numerous studies show that you can still build just as much muscle with heavy weight, but there is a couple of nuances on choosing, and I will show you guys exactly how to choose the rep range for you. So really 4 points here, and if you're meeting all 4 of these, perfect, you are in the right rep range. So again, 6 to 30 reps. I probably could have just said, do it from 6 to 30 reps, and I could have been the whole video, but there are a couple little nuances here. So staying in that range is the most optimal. Again, you can go a little bit lower, a little bit above, not too big of a deal. But for some exercises, typically compound versus isolation lifts, you're gonna want to vary the rep range. So typically for compound movements, bench, squat, deadlift, all that good stuff, you probably want to push these a little bit heavier just because you can, and they typically feel better heavier. It's just kind of how it works. And because they're compound movements, you're going to be able to progress a lot in weight. And so going heavier is not only going to be a temptation, but it's just going to be easier. And for isolation movements, like curls, side lateral raises, tricep extensions, typically lighter weight, more reps, they just work better. And I'm kind of gonna throw in preference here in this section too. They just feel better. You get a better pump, you get better delayed onset soreness, all that stuff. It just feels so much better. And that is important, because if you're doing a set of 6 for bicep curls, yes, theoretically it's going to grow just as much muscle as a set of 15, but the next day you're like, I don't really know if I worked out my biceps. During the workout you're like, I didn't really get a pump in my biceps. I just felt like I was just curling a lot of weight, but I couldn't really feel any of it. that could be an issue. So depending on compound and isolation movements can vary. Also, it doesn't have to follow that criteria. Maybe bench press for you, compound movements, if it's super heavy, you just don't feel your chest. Like that didn't feel good. So for that one, you could go, lighter weight, do some more reps with it. It's really personal preference, and it varies from exercise to exercise. And the last little point I want to make here is injuries or joint pain. So back to that curl example, if I'm doing a set of 6 with bicep curls and my wrists are just killing me, well, what I could do is instead of curling the 30s, I could drop the weight, pick up the 15s, drop my ego at the door, and do a couple more reps with it. And then I'm like, oh, my joints feel fine. For me personally, heavy bench press always flares up my elbows, but if I switch it over to a little bit lighter, do a little bit more reps, no pain, better pump, better growth. So it's a win-win, but for a lot of people, they really struggle to drop their ego at the door and dropping the weight. So I would say maybe talk to your therapist about your ego, about that one. Okay, so that is the end of today's video. In the next couple parts, I will be going more into detail on which exercises to choose, how to perform those exercises, volume, rest times, all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you haven't seen part 1, go check that out, and there'll be many more videos to come. Thank you so much.